Hare Krishna, all the dear devotees. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam study class. Today we are going to discuss verse number 28 till verse number 42. This is from chapter number 8 of canto number 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. The title of this chapter is Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. Overall, this is our 23rd class. I would like to invite Mangala Mataji for Mangalasharan prayers. Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please, can you recite the
Yes,
prayers?
Prabhuji. Om Ajnana-timirandascha Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padayuta Kamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavacha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगुण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
One more Mataji.
Oh,
Bhagavatam
sorry.
prayers.
Yes, yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mangala Mataji. Thank you very much. Very nicely recited. Okay, now I would like to invite Vrindavaneshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Mataji. Just give me 1 second.
Yes.
I will animate it. Okay. Now please, can you do the recap for the previous class, Mataji? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. If you can give me the host rights, I can kind of
Sorry?
share my. All right, I will just say.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are doing the chapter Prayers by Queen Kunti. In our last class, we took verses starting from 18 and we went up to verse number 27. So in verse 18, Kunti Maharani says that Krishna is both inside and outside. When she saw that Krishna himself entered the womb of Uttara to save Parikshit Maharaj, she started glorifying all the mystic powers of Krishna upon seeing how Lord entered Uttara's womb and saved King Parikshit. Queen Kunti was convinced and confirms that Lord's presence is both inside and outside all living beings. In verse 19, Kunti Devi says that Krishna, though all pervading, remains covered with avaran of Maya. He is beyond the limited sense perception and therefore cannot be realized by any kind of experimental knowledge. She gives the analogy of an actor who is falsely dressed up for the performance of particular role, and the foolish cannot understand the real identity of the actor. Commoners are unable to see and understand the divine actions of Krishna, and therefore he remains hidden to their eyes. In verse 20, Kunti Maharani laments that how can she, who's only a mere woman, come to understand the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the object of worship of great transcendentalists. In purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but they are blessed with Shraddha. They naturally have simplicity of acceptance of Lord's authority. This quality of woman folk is acknowledged by Srila Prabhupada, who says that this simplicity of acceptance is much greater than phony or showy religious fervor. In the next verse, that is verse 21, Kunti Devi pays her obeisances to Krishna, glorifying him to be the son of Vasudev, pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda and other cowherd men. She also addresses him as the liver of cows and senses. In the purport of this verse, it is noteworthy that Kunti Devi specifically praised Krishna's form and not any other form of the Lord, such as Lord Rama. Why is this so? This is so because Krishna Avatara is more approachable and has many, many sweet pastimes as compared to other avatars. In verse 22, Kunti Devi then poetically brings out Lord's beautiful form. She says that his beautiful form is marked by lotuses. She calls him Pankaj Nabhaya, Pankaj Maline, Pankaj Netraya, Pankaj Agrahe. Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that a devotee should start taking darshan of the Lord from the feet and gradually go to the face. But Kunti Maharani did not follow this rule. She started taking darshan from the navel of the Lord because in a sense she is Buaji of Lord and so did not want to embarrass the Lord for not following the rules, etc. In next verse, that is verse 23, this is a very humble prayer of Kunti Devi, where she says that Krishna did her more favor than he did to his own mother Devaki by protecting her children, as she was a widow and therefore had no one to depend upon for the well-being of her children. She actually is bringing out the quality of the Lord as Deen Vatsala. In verse 24, Kunti Maharani remembers and pays her gratitude-full prayers to the Lord, saying how the Lord had protected them from many, many life-threatening situations, like saving them from poison caves, fire of Lakshagraha, sufferings of the forest while in exile, vicious Kuru Sabha, and dangers of war, and weapon of Ashwatthama. In the next verse, very astonishing prayer is made by Kunti Maharani. She pleads that the Lord may put her in difficult situation again and again. Because it is very natural for a person to remember the Lord in pratikul circumstances as compared to anukul sthiti. Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that Kunti Devi has full realization that the material world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. So a sane person is not perturbed by the calamities of the material world. On the contrary, he makes effort to make progress in spiritual path. In verse 26, Kunti Devi provides the key to the secret door of Krishna's abode. She states that proud men like Vid, who are who are abhimani of their buddhi, bala, dhana, cannot realize him. But only the humble and materially exhausted can approach him and realize him. And in our last verse of last turn's class, that is verse 27, Srimati Kunti Devi calls and glorifies Lord as Kinchan Vittaya. That means that the Lord is the property of impoverished. Srila Prabhupada in the purport gives the story of Sanatan Goswami, how Sanatan Goswami had a Vaidurya Mani, which when touched to anything could turn it into gold. But Sanatan Goswami did not have any interest in it because he had much valuable money, that is the money of Krishna name. So all the other things were useless for Sanatan Goswami. She glorifies the Lord and his devotees to be beyond the modes of material nature. That is, she states that the Lord and his devotees are Gunatita. So I think that is all we covered, Prabhuji. I am very sorry if I had done something mistake.
You have done an excellent job, Mataji. This
Thank
was an
you.
excellent presentation of the summary. Very nice, very peacefully with a very calm demeanor. You approached each and every point with very lot of clarity. So very good, very nice. And I would like to also appreciate Vrindavaneshwari Mataji for taking this initiative to start her own online preaching activities through Facebook and probably YouTube also. And she is on her own trying to reach out to the social circle that she has in terms of his Facebook connections and his online connection and so on. So which is very nice. So others also may want to follow suit, take example, inspiration from Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move to the subject matter of today's class. We will continue with the prayers of Kunti Devi. As you can see in the overview map of chapter 8 of Canto 1, we are now in the third section. Mataji just now did a recap from 18th verse till the 27th verse. We will now continue with our journey from 28th verse onwards, and we will try our best to complete till the 42nd verse. Till 7 p.m. we will try to complete all these things. So as usual, before beginning the class, I would like to request for volunteers who would want to recite the verses and read the text during the class. Can I have some names?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
So
I
Rakesh
also
ji
can.
is, yeah. So Vrindavaneshwari Mataji and Mohan Kumari Mataji. Okay.
I can do it too, Prabhuji.
Okay, Vidya Mataji. So we have 4 devotees. I think 4 are good enough, 4 is sufficient enough. So we'll first start with Rakesh ji. Okay. Now we are on the 28th verse, and it is in continuation with the previous theme, that qualification to approach the Lord. So we already covered this in 26th and 27th verse. Now in the 28th verse, Kunti Devi is elaborating, glorifying some more qualities of the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna. So Rakesh Prabhu, are you ready?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Manye tvam kalam ishanam
Tvam kalam ishanam
anadi nidhanam vibhum
anadi nidhanam vibhum
samam charantam sarvatra
samam charantam sarvatra
Bhutanam yanmitha kalihi.
bhutanam yanmitah kalihi.
Very nice. We'll go line by line. Let us see what Kunti Devi is saying about the qualities of the Supreme Lord. Manye tvam kalam ishanam. She's saying that you are kalam and you are ishanam. Kalam means you are eternal time, and ishanam means you are the supreme controller. Like we have been studying Isha Upanishad. Ish means controller. Ishwar means controller. Kalam is time. So here eternal time, here a little more elaboration has been given. Here time means when it is being talked about Lord Krishna, that he destroys those who offend the devotees. So this is a little devotional purport given in the translation, that eternal time means that he is a destroyer of those people who offend the devotees, who does aparadh towards the devotees, and at the same time he is also a supreme controller. So two qualities of the Lord in the first line. Then in the second line, anadi nidhanam. Anadi nidhanam means the Lord is without beginning or end. Vibhum, Lord is all pervasive. Then samam charantam sarvatra. Samam charantam. Samam means he is equal to all, and charantam means he is moving everywhere in all living beings. Charantam sarvatra. So he is moving everywhere in all living beings means he is situated in the heart as Paramatma, equal to all. So the Lord is not partial; he is equal to everyone. And then Bhutanam yan mitha kalihi. And he is the abode of conflicting qualities. He is the abode of conflicting qualities. Conflicting qualities means, we will see in the next slide, in the purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained what does it mean by kalam, what does it mean by samam, and what does it mean by yan mitha kalihi. Let us see what our Vaishnavacharya Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has to say about these three different words with respect to the Lord. So the first one we already studied. Kalam here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes as that the Lord destroys those who offend his devotees. Say, for example, there are many uh, cases in the Puranas where the Lord has helped the devotees. For example, in the case of Prahlad Maharaj. So who was the tormentor of Prahlad Maharaj? Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu ultimately was destroyed by the Lord in form of Narsingadev. So the Lord destroys those who offend his devotees. Kal. Then Samam. Samam means the Lord is equal to all. Lord is not. Lord is always just to everyone. He doesn't do any partiality. So how the Lord is, although the Lord may appear to be behaving or responding or relating with different people, different objects in a different way, but ultimately the Lord is not unjust. Lord is not unequal to everyone. Lord is actually equal to everyone. Say, for example, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, Lord is not unjust because he shows attachment to the devotee, indifference to the matter, and assistance to some and destruction of others. So when it comes to devotees, because the devotees show so much love and affection towards the Lord also reciprocate in the same way. The Lord also shows his own attachment to the devotee. Then indifference to the matter, because matter does not do any activity. It is achetan. It is unconscious. So the Lord is indifferent toward the matter. Then similarly, he assists to some and destroys the others. Depending upon their past deeds, he seemed to be assisting some people. He seemed to be destroying other people. He seemed to be giving diseases to other people. He seemed to be giving uh, some benediction to other people. The people may not recognize it. But ultimately, although the Lord may seem to be relating to different people, different jivas in a different way, but ultimately the Lord is samam. He's equal to all. He's simply reciprocating with the devotees and giving the results of their past deeds of to other people. Samam. Then yad mithaha kalihi. Yad mitha kalhi here means in whom there is conflict, because the Lord gives suffering and bliss. He is equal and prejudiced. He is unmerciful and merciful. So the person who is getting some benediction, it may appear that the Lord is very merciful. To the person, the Lord is not giving any benediction, or on the contrary, maybe might appear to give suffering in terms of maybe some disease, some old age, or some other difficulty in life. He might seem unmerciful. So, like this, the Lord might appear to behave in a conflicting way, but ultimately the Lord is equal to all. This is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given in the purport of the this particular verse. SD actually here means Sararth Darshini. Sararth Darshini is the commentary written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now we move to the next one. Next one is the 29th verse. It is about, so we move to the next theme. So Kunti Maharani prayers also can be divided into multiple themes. Now from verse number 29, 30 and 31, three verses, the theme of the prayer changes to mysterious nature of Lord's birth and activities. So the Lord takes birth and Lord does some activities. They appear very mysterious. They appear very bewildering. So here in 29th verse, that is what is being brought out, that quality of the Lord is being brought out. Now this meter, this chanda is I would say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. This is actually Trishtup chanda. Trishtup chand can be either in 11 syllables or 12 syllables. So if you remember, how are you going to pronounce the melody of Trishtup chand? Can anyone recall? I gave you one formula verse from Bhagavad Gita the other day. Can anyone recall how to recognize, how to chant a Trishtup meter?
Is it Brahma Samhita? Is it?
No, that is Vasant Tilakam, Prabhu. So in Bhagavad Gita, it is Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhava. So can you just for the benefit of the class recite Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhava in a proper melody?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay, Mataji. Okay.
Karpanyadosho swabhava.
Okay, Mataji. That's all. So now you got the idea how it is to be sung. Now Rakesh ji,
Yes,
please
Prabhu.
please join us. Join me in reciting this. न वेदकश्चेत् भगवंश्च कीर्षितम्
न वेद कश्चित् भगवन् चिकीर्षितम्
तवेहमानस्य नृणां विडम्बनम्
प्रवेहमानस्य नृणां विदम्बनम्
न यस्
विडम्बनम्
न यस्य कश्चिदयतोऽस्ति कर्हि चेत्
न यस्य कश्चित् व्ययतोऽस्ति कर्हिचित्
द्वेषश्च यस्मिन् विषमामतिर्नृणाम्
द्वेषस्य यस्मिन् विषमामतिर्नृणाम्
Very nice.
नृणाम्
Thank you very much. Very good. Let us see what is each line is saying. न वेद कश्चित् भगवंश्च कीर्षितम्. Ved means knowing. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes. Naved kaschit bhagavansh chak chikirshitam. Chikirshitam means the pastimes, the leelas. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes. Taveha manasya nrinam vidambanam, which appear to be human and so are misleading. Which appear to be human, so are misleading. Then nayasya kaschit dayitosti karhichit. You have no specific object of favor. Nayasya kaschid dayitosti karhichid. You have no specific object of favor. And then dveshascha yasmin vishama matir nrinam. Nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. So here you can see Lord appear like and seem to be coming in the appearance of a normal human being, like we have the form of two arms, two legs, like that. So the Lord forms is very similar to the human form. However, Lord actually comes in a human form, but when he does his activities, for example, he lifts Govardhan Hill, he drinks the forest fire, he constructs a bridge which is floating on the water. So uh, that is why, although he seemed to be like a human, but his activities are very bewildering, and one cannot easily understand how his activities are so bewildering. So that is what Kunti Devi is saying. Na Veda Kaschit Bhagavamscha Kirshitam. No one can understand your transcendental pastime, which appear to be human and so are misleading. Then she makes the second point in the prayer, that you don't favor anyone, neither you envy anyone, but 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 what we see is, what we observe is that the people who are dealing with you, they imagine that you are partial. The people who are dealing with you, they imagine that you are partial. Now, in this verse, there are two aspects. One is about the Leela aspect, which is very bewildering of the Lord, and the second aspect is the whether the Lord is partial or not partial. So, in this regard, again, I have taken the excerpt from the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from Sarartha Darshini. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very nice analogy using the example of sun. He very nicely, very sweetly explain this particular point of partiality, whether it is partial or not. So, Rakesh ji, can you please read?
Yes, Prabhu. Lord is not partial, but may appear partial. The sun gives the same light to everyone, but seems to be partial because it, number one, imparts its own qualities to the sunstone. Two, is different to the blind. Third, gives joy to the Chakravaka birds. And fourth, is harmful to the thieves and owls. However, the cause of this difference is the qualities of the specific object that comes in contact with the sun. Similarly, although the Lord is not partial, different people relate with the Lord in different ways according to their own qualities.
Yes, so very nice, a very beautiful purport given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur using the example of sun. Now here, the sun gives the same light to everyone. Sun doesn't differentiate when it gives light. It gives light everyone, same light to everyone. But it may appear partial. How? He is giving four examples. The example one is the example of a sunstone. Now, when there is a sunstone, when the sunlight falls on the sunstone, the stone actually becomes very effulgent. So somebody might think that the sunlight is falling on the sunstone, but making the sunstone very bright. It's giving its own qualities to the sunstone, because sun is very bright. Similarly, the sunstone also becomes very bright when the sunlight falls on sunstone. So for sunstone, the sun is really giving a very good quality. Sun is very beneficial, but is indifferent to the blind. Indifferent to the blind means if a person is blind, whether sun is there or not there, there is no difference. Whether sun rises or doesn't rises, it does make no difference in the life of a blind. So for sunstone, it is giving its own qualities, but to a blind, it does not matter whether the sun exists or doesn't exist. Then the third example is Chakravak bird. Chakravak bird becomes very joyful. How? When the sun rises, the Chakravak bird actually becomes very joyful. So it might appear to someone that Chakravak bird, the sun gives joy to the Chakravak bird. Then the fourth example is thieves and owls. So thieves like to steal in the dark. Similarly, owls like darkness. They don't like light. When there is light, they actually go hiding. So owls like dark, and in dark only they catch the prey. So for owls and thieves, sun is actually very harmful. It is not good for their business. So it is something. Uh, the sun actually is giving light, same light to everyone. But here, with the help of four examples, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is trying to say that it may appear that the sun is behaving in a different way with different objects. However, it is not because of sun's partiality. It is mainly because of the difference in the qualities of the specific object that comes in contact with the sun. So if a thief is coming in the contact with the sun, it is mainly because of the thief bad quality, the sun appear bad to the thief. It is only because of the good quality of the Chakravak bird, the sun appear to be very joyful. Similarly, although the Lord is not partial, different people relate with the Lord in different ways according to their own qualities. So somebody who is very disturbed, who is having some difficulty in their life, maybe there is some uh, the he's an employer in some company and the company has terminated that person, so he might blame the Lord. Oh my dear Lord, you have what wrong did I do that you that my job has gone? So it is not Lord is doing something, maybe it is because of the person's some actions in the past, it may have to face this kind of a termination. So it is not that the Lord is partial, but different people relate with the Lord in different ways according to their own qualities. So that is the idea. Lord is not partial, but he may appear partial according to the different qualities. Okay, Prabhu. Then we have the second quality, contradictory. So please recite this. Janma karma cha vishmatman
जन्म कर्म च विश्वात्मन्
ajasya karturatmanah
अजस्य कर्तुरात्मनः
tiryang drishishu yadhasu
तिर्यन्नृषिषु यादाशु
tad atyanta vidambanam.
तद अत्यंत विडम्बनम्.
Okay. So the first two lines means, O soul of the universe, Janma Karmacha Vishwa Atman. Vishwa Atman means he's Kunti Devi is addressing the Lord as the soul of the universe. Soul of the universe. Soul of the universe would mean that if there is any material object, like the universe actually is made up of matter, but unless and until there is some spiritual touch to this matter, unless and until the spiritual Lord enters into this matter, this universe doesn't come into action. So that is how Kunti Devi is referring to the Lord as Vishvatman. So, O soul of the universe, although you are unborn, Janma Karma, and you are inactive, Ajasya Kartur, Ajasya means Aja means not born. Akartur means you are inactive. You are inactive. O soul of the universe, although you are unborn and inactive, hmm, Triyan Rishishu Yadhasu, you yourself descend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So, at one point of time, uh, in the first two lines, Kunti Devi is referring to the Lord as Aja. Aja means unborn. But in the last two lines, she's saying that you yourself descend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So, how can somebody be born and unborn at the same time? This is very bewildering. Tad atyanta vidambanam. Atyanta means extremely. Vidambanam means it is extremely bewildering. It is extremely confusing that you, although you are unborn, but you sometimes born as a sage, you sometimes born as an animal, man, or aquatic. I cannot actually understand your contradictory qualities. So this is where Kunti Devi is addressing to the Lord's very contradictory qualities. Now, how do we understand that the Lord is born and unborn at the same time? Again, we will use the example of sun. Like, for example, I'm living in Bangalore. And in Bangalore, every day, for example, let us assume the sun rises at 6 a.m. in the morning. And by the time it is 6:30 p.m. in the evening, the sun sets. So somebody living in Bangalore might think that the sun rises at 6 a.m. and sets at 6:30 p.m. Now that is in one sense true. But when the sun sets, does it mean that the sun is no longer there? We know that sun is always there. Although it may have set in the geography of Bangalore, but the sun probably is now rising at some other place. Similarly, when the sun rises, it may have set at some other place and have risen in Bangalore at 6 a.m. So similarly, the Lord may appear to be taking birth and may be disappearing after doing his activities. But we know that the Lord is all pervading. Lord is always existing. He may have taken birth in this particular time frame, but Lord and may have disappeared from this particular time frame, but that does not mean that the Lord does not exist. Like the sun, which may appear to rise and which may appear to set, but we know that the sun is always there. Somewhere or the other place, it is either rising or setting. That we already know. So similarly, uh, Kunti Maharani is saying that your activities seem to be, your Janma seems to be very bewildering. And this is the example. And then we read a little bit from the purport about the second point. Okay, Prabhu, please read.
Lord is born, though unborn. Lord perform actions, though not the doer.
Hmm.
The Lord is the all-prevailing super soul of all existence, and yet he appears in the form of a boar amongst the animals, in the form of a human being as Rama, Krishna, etc., in the form of a rishi like Narayana, and in the form of an aquatic like a fish. Yet it is said that he is unborn and he is nothing to do.
Yeah, so Prabhupada ji is giving some examples of the Lord's incarnations, various incarnations, because Kunti Devi has used that you sometime take birth as animal, you sometime take birth as human, you sometime take birth as a sage, and sometime take birth as an aquatic. So Prabhupada is giving example in his purport, various examples where the Lord has taken these kind of births. And then Lord perform actions though not the doer. Hmm? Though Lord perform actions not the doer. What does it mean? When we say that the Lord is doer, that means, or when we say that somebody is a doer, that what does it mean? It means that when the person performs some action, if those actions are not in accordance with, if these actions are not in accordance with the instructions of the Lord, the guidelines of the Lord, then the person is actually going to get karmic reaction. And why do we perform action because which are not in the guidance of the Lord? We perform these kind of actions because of our ignorance, because of our avidya. And that is why we perform these actions for selfish reasons, and that is how we get entangled into the cycle of karma. However, the Lord is completely pure. Lord does not have any impact of sattva guna, rajas, rajoguna, and tamoguna. The Lord is completely pure. Lord does not have even a tinge of malice in him. So when the Lord perform action, he does not get any reaction. So that is why it is being mentioned here that the Lord performs actions though not the doer. Not the doer means he does not get any karmic reaction in return. Okay, now we invite our second participant, Vrindavaneshwari Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, now this is I have written the meter at the bottom of the verse. Vasant Tilkam. Can anyone remind me? Although we just now discussed with the Jivan Radha Prabhu, Vasant Tilkam comes from where? Which uh, which
Brahma Samhita.
Brahma Samhita. So Jivan Prabhu, can you just sing one line from Brahma Samhita? How it is sung? Venu Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayatakszam. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Yes. Venu Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayatakszam. Now this meter is Vasant Tilkam. This is 14 syllables. This is 14 syllables. So can you count the number of vowels in this particular one? Can you count the number of vowels?
4 in the first
Okay,
word.
O, A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yes.
So 14 vowels means actually Vasant Tilkam. So the way Brahma Samhita prayers are sung, we are going to sing this verse in the same way. Okay, please recite after me.
Yes.
Gopya dade tvai krita gasidam tavat
Gopya dade tvai कृतसकासिधाम त्वावद्
या ते दशाश्रुकलिला जन संभ्रमाक्षम्
या ते द्रशुषु कलिलाञ्जना सम्भ्रमाञ्चाम्
वक्त्रं निनीय भयभावनया स्थितस्य
वक्त्रं निनीय भयभावनस्य स्थितस्य
सा मां विमोहयति भीरपि यद्बिभेति।
सा मां विमोहयति भीरपि यद्बिभेति।
Wonderful, wonderful. So now you can see how are we trying to enjoy not only understanding Bhagavatam, rather we are trying to take delight, take rasa from recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we want to enjoy the rasa of the poetry, we need to have the understanding of how are we going to sing this. And in order to know how to sing this, we need to first of all recognize the meter. So as you can see, this is 14 syllable Vasant Tilkam, and we recited it like that. Now let us go to the understanding part of this particular verse. Here the theme is fearful. Here again Kunti Devi is feeling bewildered about the mysterious nature of Lord's birth and activities by citing one very famous pastimes from Lord's activities. And this pastime is the Damodar Lila pastime. And she's saying, Gopyadade Tvai Kritagasi Dam Tavad. Dam means rope. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense. Gopyadade Tvai Kritagasi. Kritagasi means you did some mischief. You created some obstacle. Tvai Kritagasi Dam Tavad. And then Ya te Dashashru Kalilanjana Sambhramaksham. Yate Dashashru Kalilanjana Sambhramaksham. And your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. So she is giving some description from the past time when the Lord was being scolded by her mother. The Lord started to weep, and because he started to weep, there was the kajal around the eyes of the Lord, the mascara, and because of his weeping, the mascara actually got spread all over his face, which washed the mascara from your eyes. Then vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya samam vimohyati bhir api yad bibheti. And you are afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. She's saying that you appeared so afraid from your mother Yashoda, although your reputation is such that if fear personified comes in front of you, actually that fear personified will be fearful of you. But what a personality, what a personality is this. Just give me 1 minute. Chachaji, I'll call you in 1 hour time. I'm in middle of class. I'll call you in 1 hour time. Okay. So samam vimohyati bhir api yat bibheti. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. So she is feeling mysterious. These are activities of the Lord which are very mysterious. So here we should understand that when this pastime was going on, whether the Lord was actually acting of having some fear, or actually he was feeling fearful. So here Kunti Maharani confirms that he was actually afraid of his mother, uh, Yashoda. And because the Lord was feeling afraid of his mother Yashoda, is speaking volumes about the devotion of his mother Yashoda. What it means is that Mother Yashoda's devotion is so exalted that the Lord, from whom the fear personified is fearful, is actually feeling fearful. So if you remember in earlier prayers, where where Kunti Devi remembers the Lord as son of Devaki, as son of Vasudev, Devaki Nandanayacha. Vasudev, and then and she also remembers son of Nanda. So Devaki, Vasudev, and Nanda. And in that particular verse, Mother Yashoda's name was not written. And when we were discussing that verse, we mentioned to you that Yashoda's name is not mentioned because Yashoda's devotion is even more exalted than Devaki, Nanda, and Vasudev, and will be separately dealt by Kunti Devi in a separate verse in coming forward. So in 31st verse, Kunti Devi is actually bringing out that exalted devotional nature of devotion of Mother Yashoda. Let us see what in the Sarartha Darshini Tika, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes about Mother Yashoda's position. Yes, Mataji, please read.
Mother Yashoda's position is superior to Nanda. Lowering her head with eyes filled with tears mixed with eye ointment, you stood there in fear of her punishment. It is astonishing because fear itself is afraid of you. This state shows that Yashoda, having such prema, was more fortunate than Nanda, since you were brought under her control completely.
Yes. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is mentioning that Yashoda's position is even superior to Nanda because the Lord became fearful of Yashoda Devi, Yashoda Mai. The Lord who is who can frighten fear personified could actually feel fear of Yashoda Devi because of the quality of devotion that Mother Yashoda had, because she had so much love for the Lord that she could make the Lord fearful. So this is the meaning of this particular verse. Now let us go to the next one. Okay, the next 3-4 verses, next 3 verses, we are going to not recite the verses, rather we are going to simply understand what is the content of these verses. This is mainly, I'm trying to do this mainly to save some time also.
Okay.
So let us request Vrindavaneshwari Mataji to read each item one by one. So
Yes.
this is now we are moving to the next theme in the prayers. So we in the previous prayer we covered this theme of mysterious nature of Lord's birth and activities, and now we are moving to the next theme, various opinions about the birth of the Lord. So different people give different reasons why the Lord took birth, and these are the opinions which is being covered by Mother Kunti in these particular prayers. So please read line by line.
Yes.
One.
Various opinions about the birth of unborn Lord. Reason 1, opinion 1, to glorify the pious kings like Yudhishthira.
Yes, yes. Mataji, one by one we'll go. I'll just give a brief overview of each of these lines. So here in the verse, you will see the word used is Punya Shloka. Punya Shloka is another name of King Yudhishthir. So here somebody gives some opinion is that the Lord took birth because he wanted to glorify Punya Shloka. And here in the commentary, Prabhupada clarifies that Punya Shloka here means King Yudhishthir. King Yudhishthir, in order to glorify him, the Lord took birth. Now go to the second ones. Second one.
Yes, to please dear devotee King Yadu.
Hmm.
Analogy of Malay Chandan.
Yeah. So the second reason is that King Yadu, he the Lord took birth in Yadu Vansh. So because the Lord took birth in Yadu Vansh, so the king of Yadu Vansh got glorified, and that king of Yadu Vansh was King Yadu. So here the analogy has been given in this particular verse, in this 32nd verse of Malai Chandan. Now Malay is a place called Malaysia these days. So in the scriptures, it is known as Malay Desh, Malay Desh, and the specific quality of this Malay Desh is that sandalwood trees grow there. Uh, Although the trees grows everywhere, but sandalwood tree grow only in Malay Chandan, only in the Malay Desh, in Malaysia region. So the reason he's giving this analogy is that births might be taking place everywhere, but the Lord is something like a sandalwood tree. He's special, and he's because he's special, he's taking place. He's taking birth in a special place. He's taking birth in a place in the dynasty of King Yadu. So this is another reason why the Lord takes. This is another opinion that Lord took birth in order to please his devotee King Yadu. Okay, now the 33rd.
Yes.
Hmm.
As an answer to the prayers of Vasudev and Devaki.
Yeah, as an answer to the prayers of Vasudev and Devaki. So this is another opinion. In the previous life, Vasudev and Devaki were Sutapa and Prishni. Sutapa and Prishni. And Sutapa and Prishni were husband and wife, and they did very severe austerities, very severe tapasya, and prayed that in the next life, oh dear Lord, please you be born as our son. So one opinion is that Lord took birth in order to answer the prayers of Vasudev and Devaki. Okay. Fourth and fifth you can read, Mataji.
Yes. For the welfare of the world and to kill the Suras.
Yes. Now we know the famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. So dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So another opinion is that the Lord comes, the Lord takes avatar for the welfare of the world and to kill the demons, to kill the asuras. So that is why the Lord takes birth. And then the last one. Yep.
In response to Brahma's prayers to
Hmm.
relieve the overburdened earth.
Hmm. So if you read in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto where the Lord Krishna's birth has been mentioned, so the background to the Lord birth was that uh, the Mother Earth was very much overburdened because of the sinful activities of the lot of demons at that time. So because she was overburdened, she went to Brahmaji, and Brahmaji, along with the demigods, went to the ocean shore of the ocean of Milk Ocean, where uh, Shirodakshay Vishnu is there, and Brahmaji prays to, along with the demigods, prays to the Shirodakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu uh, confirms that I am going to that the Lord is going to take birth soon, and going to relieve Mother Earth from the overburden that she is facing. So this is another opinion. So Kunti Devi is trying to glorify the Lord that there are multiple opinions, my dear Lord, about your birth, about your activities. So that is what is being mentioned by Kunti Devi in these three verses.
Okay.
Okay. Now let us go to the. Okay. Now let us go to the Mohana Mataji for recitation. Mohana Mataji, are you
Hare
ready?
Krishna.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay.
Okay.
So we will read this now. In the 35th verse, Kunti Devi, although in 32nd, 33rd, 34th verses gives multiple opinions, but ultimately in the 35th verse she comes down to the real reason, the essence. The real reason actually why the Lord comes is mentioned in the 35th verse. Here let us see what Kunti Devi has to say. Bhavesmin klishyamananam
Bhaveslim Krishyamanaanam
avidya kama karma bhihi
Avidya Kama Karmabhi
श्रवण स्मरणार श्रवण स्मरणार्हाणि
Shravana Smarnanami
श्रवण स्मरणार्हाणि
Shravana Smarnanahani
करिष्यन् इति केचन
Karishyaniki Chetana
करिष्यन् इति केचन.
Karishyan Iti Kechana.
Yes, now let us see, this is a very beautiful verse where you will see that what is in the opinion of Kunti Devi in her prayers, what is the real reason for Lord's appearance. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karmabhi Shravana smaranarhani karishyan iti kechana. Some say that you have appeared in this world to help those suffering due to their actions arising from material desires which arises from ignorance. Avidya kama karmabhi. Avidya kama karmabhi. What does this mean? This is actually sequential. This is in series. This is in series. This is in series. Let me just mute Atulji. Yeah. Mona Mataji, can you mute yourself because there's some background noise coming? And when I ask you to recite, you can unmute again. Okay. So Some say that you have appeared in this world to help those suffering due to their actions arising from where? Material desires, which arises from ignorance. So ignorance, material desires, and then action. So this is a sequence. This is a sequence which from her prayer, from Mother Kunti's prayer, we can understand how do we get entangled into the cycle of karma. Here, it is the first starting point is avidya. Avidya means we are ignorant about the existence of the Lord. We are ignorant about the rules and regulations of the Lord that He has encoded for us how to live in this world. So, this is avidya. Because we are ignorant about the Lord, we create false desires, or we create those kind of desires which are not going to help us in this world, which are kama. Kama means materialistic desires. Because of avidya, we create materialistic desires which is enjoying separately from the Lord, that is running after fame, name, money, power, prestige, etc., etc. So that is known as kama. Because of the avidya, we have kama, and because we have kama, we then engage into sinful actions. And because we engage into sinful actions, we get their reactions, and hence we have to come again and again. We have to take birth again and again because of these kind of because of this reason. Avidya, kam, karma bhi. But here, Kunti Devi is saying that the people in this world actually are suffering because of their actions, which are arising because of their material desires, and actually these material desires are coming from ignorance, avidya. But there is a bright light, there is a silver light, there is a hope. And what is that hope? Shravana smaranarhani. Shravana smaranarhani Karishyan iti kechana. By engaging them in hearing and remembering about you, so that they can attain prema. So when you come, my dear Lord, in this material world, people's attention goes towards you. People starts to talk about you. People starts to hear about you. And when they hear and remember about you, then what happens is they can attain prema. They can attain prema. And what is the result of attaining prema? The result of attaining Krishna prema is that we don't no longer take any birth in this material world. Let us see the next verse. So the next verse is actually in continuation of the previous verse. So Mohana Mataji, uh,
Hare
this
Krishna.
is again this meter is again Trishtup. Trishtup is either 11 syllable or 12 syllable. So it is to be sung like Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha, like this. So please recite after me. शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृणन्त्यभीक्षणशः
श्रवन्ति गायन्ति ग्रयन्ति अभिषनक्षः
स्मरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवेहितं जनाः
स्मरन्ति नन्दति ततवेहितं जनः
त एव पश्यन्त्यचिरेण तावकम्
तव एव पश्यन्ति अचिरेण तावकम्
भवप्रवाहो परमं पदाम्बुजम्
भवपरा भवप
प्रवाहो
भवप्रवाहं भव भवप्रवाहो परमं पदम्बुजम्.
very nice, very nice. Okay. So potency of devotional process. Potency of devotional process. What process was mentioned in the previous verse? Hearing and chanting. Hearing, Shravan and Kirtan about the Lord. Here, the Lord says, the Lord glorify this process. Those who continuously hear, Shravananti, Gayanti, Grananti, Abhikshanashaha. Those who continuously hear, chant and repeat. Abhikshanashaha means continuously, always. Smaranti nandanti tave hitam janah. Chant and repeat your transcendental activities, or who take pleasure in others doing so. Then what happens? Ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam. Achirena. Achirena. Achirena means very quickly. For example, in Hindi we say Chiranjeevi Bhava. Chiranjeeva. Chira means long, long live. And achira means not long live. Not long live means very short live. So that is what achirena means. Ta eva pashyanti. Pashyanti means they see. Achirena tavakam. Achirena tavakam. Tavakam means yours. Bhava pravaho paramam. Bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. Bhava pravaho paramam. Bhava pravaho paramam means that punarjanam, the stream of rebirth. Pravaha. Pravaha means stream. Bhava pravaha. Bhava pravaha means stream of repeated birth and death. Bhavaho paramam padambujam. So then what happens is, certainly if they do hearing and chanting about you, my dear Lord, they certainly see your lotus feet without delay, achirena, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Bhavaha bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. So let us see what Prabhupada has to write in the purport for this particular verse. Mataji, can you read from here?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Purport 1.8.36. Lord can only be seen only by one who is qualified.
Hmm.
When Shri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the supreme personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakaship, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupala were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources.
So here there are a couple of points, very nice points Prabhupada is making, that seeing the Lord does not mean standing in front of the Lord and watching him with your eyes. That does not mean seeing the Lord. And he gives an example. He gives example when the Lord was already there on this earth planet. There were many materialists like Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandh, Shishupal. They were very highly qualified. They had a lot of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. They could see the Lord standing in front of them, but seeing the Lord standing in front of them actually does not mean seeing the Lord. That does not mean having the darshan of the Lord, because having the darshan of the Lord actually requires qualification. It is not ordinary qualification. So even though the Lord may be present before your eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. Necessary vision. Like, for example, a doctor who is an orthopedic surgeon can see the X-ray and can understand the X-ray. Although, if the X-ray is given to somebody who is uneducated, he also see the X-ray film, but he actually does not see the X-ray film. Similarly, the person who has the vision of devotion in the eyes can only see the Supreme Lord. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service. And how do we develop this process of seeing the Lord? How do we develop this qualification of seeing the Lord? It is only by bhakti. And bhakti starts from where? Bhakti starts from hearing about the Lord from the right sources, from the qualified sources, from the bona fide sources. That is how the process of devotional service can enable us to see the Lord. Prabhupada used to say that one day, if you do your bhakti sincerely and nicely, one day you will see the Lord face to face. There is also one story in relation with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Once Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was presenting a class in a temple, and there were many of his disciples who were listening to his class. In the middle of the class, sometime in the middle of the class, what happened was that the altar of the deities, the curtain was opened up, and the darshan of the deities were available. And some of the devotees stood up from the class and went to take the darshan of the deities. After taking the darshan of the deities, they came back and sat in the class. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was not very pleased by this action of his disciples, he questioned his disciples. He actually challenged his disciples. He told his disciples, "Where did you go? You did not see anything. You only saw some wood, some paint, some matter. Oh, that's all you have seen. You have not seen the Lord, because the Lord is not seen like this. The Lord is not seen through your eyes. The Lord is actually seen through your ears. Once you hear about the Lord, and after hearing the Lord, about the Lord, you develop love for the Lord, then only actually you are able to see the Lord in a proper way, in the proper consciousness. So that is what Lord can only be seen only by one who is qualified. Now we go to the next verse. Complete dependence. So this is also Trishtup Chand in 12 syllables. So Mataji, please repeat after me. Apyadyanastvam swakrate hita prabho
अभ्यत्नव अभ्यत्नवस्तं सुकृते प्रभोः
jihasasi swit suhrido no jivinah.
जिहासस्विद् सुदृहो
Suhrido
नुविद् सुहृदो
nu jivanah.
नुज्जीवनः
Yesham na chanyad bhavata padambujat
येषां च नाद्या भवतत्पदाम्बुजात्
parayanam rajasu yojitam hasam.
परायणां राजसूयतोत्तमास् हसाम्
Yojitam hasam.
योजितां हसाम्.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Very nice. Then we see complete dependence. So talking about after talking about uh, that one who does hearing and chanting of the Lord, then that is the sure short way to take the darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord. And then in the 37th verse till the 43rd verse, again the theme has changed. In the previous theme, it was mainly about it was mainly about various opinions about the birth of the Lord. And now it is about the appeal for more association. Appeal for more association means, because the background is Lord is about to leave for Dwarka. He's in the Hastinapur and he wants to leave for Dwarka. And then this episode happens where Brahmastra approaches Uttara and the Lord protects it. That ignites the spark of devotion in the heart of Kunti Devi, and she starts reciting these prayers. And out of her devotion, now she is concluding her prayers. In 37th verse onwards, Kunti Devi is concluding the prayers. She's saying, "Oh my dear Lord, please don't go. Please don't go, my dear Lord. If you go, we will be really shattered." So that is now the theme will be that she's pleading the Lord for more of his association. She's asking the Lord, please stay back, my dear Lord. Please don't go. So complete dependence. So she's saying, Apya adya na stvam swakrite hita prabho. Oh my Lord, do you, whose deeds are automatically accomplished, desire to reject us today, though we are your friends and depend on you? So here, Kunti Devi is saying, do you want to reject us today? Are you sure you want to leave us today? Uh, uh, and who are you? You are such a person that whose deeds are automatically accomplished. Whose deeds are automatically accomplished. So if you are going to somewhere, if you are going to Dwarka to accomplish some deeds, so why are you bothering about those deeds? Your deeds are automatically accomplished. So please don't bother to go to Dwarka. But don't leave us, my dear Lord. Don't reject us today. Don't go far away from us. And we are your friends. We are completely dependent upon you. Jiha sasi swit suhrido anujivana. Anujivana means we are completely dependent upon you. And then yesham nachanya bhavata padambujat parayanam rajasu yojitam hasam. We, having created trouble with many kings, have no other shelter than your lotus feet. So she's giving one reason. My dear Lord, you should not go. Why? Because in the course of war, we have fought so many battles, we have fought so many wars, we have killed so many kings, and we have killed these kings and their sons, their relatives are still there, who are hating us, who are becoming enemy to us. So, my dear Lord, please continue to stay here and please continue to provide your protection to us, because we are completely dependent upon you. So, you are someone whose deeds are automatically accomplished. So, please don't bother to go anywhere else. So like this, she's pleading. Mother Kunti is pleading the Lord not to go, not to leave her. And this reason, uh, Swakrite Hita. Swakrite Hita means Lord's jobs, Lord's activities are automatically accomplished. Swakrite Hita. So Queen Kunti is saying that you are Swakrite Hita. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives this very beautiful conversational uh, purport between Queen Kunti and Lord Krishna. So, Mohana Mataji, please read this.
Hare Krishna. Swa Tehita. Do you desire to leave us today? Since you desire to go to Dwarka, Lord might say, I have stayed here for many days. Now I must go to Dwarka. I have necessary work there. To this, Kunti answers, but you are the person whose necessary works are already accomplished. Your attentions fulfill themselves automatically.
Swakrite Hita. Swakrite Hita. So, like this, Kunti Devi is glorifying the Lord as Swakrite Hita. And what is the purpose of glorifying the Lord as Swakrite Hita? Because she wanted to say, my dear Lord, please don't go. Your works are automatically accomplished. So you don't have actually any job anywhere. You can sit here, you can be with us, and your jobs in Dwarka will be done. If you are thinking, the Lord Krishna, if he's thinking that you are going to Dwarka for some urgent work, some important work, so Lord Kunti Devi is saying you are Swakrite Hita. So such beautiful, nice purports are given by Vaishnavacharyas, which makes reading of these prayers, discussion of these prayers so nice, so relishable. So let us see what more is to be said about this particular prayer. Please read from here.
Topmost goal of humanity. The highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him.
Hmm.
Reasons.
But wait, Mataji.
Okay,
So
okay.
here, Jihas is with Suhrido Anujivanaha. Anujivana, Queen Kunti is referring to the Lord as Anujivanaha. Anujivana means we are dependent completely upon your mercy. We are completely dependent upon your mercies. And to that, and in order to explain that point, Prabhupada is mentioning these lines. The highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him. Completely dependent on Him. This is the formula of how to live in this world. We should work, we should try our best, we should do our best. And how we should act? We should act according to the guidelines of the Lord. And then once we have done that, once we have created that uh, action of ours according to the guidelines of the Lord to the best of our ability, capability, then be completely dependent on the Lord. Then be completely anujivinaha. Anujivinaha means fully sheltered to the Lord. That is what the topmost goal of humanity. This is the formula for how to live in this world, as per Prabhupada, and coming from the prayers of Kunti Devi. Okay, now the next one.
Reason for prayers of Queen Kunti. For
Hmm.
Pandavas, separation from the Lord was just like the separation of a fish from water. Srimati Kunti Devi therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt, and the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them.
So as you can see, this is a now from verse number 37. Queen Kunti is trying to come to the bottom line of the prayers. So which started with this spark of devotion when the Brahmastra approached Uttara, and she started chanting prayers glorifying multiple qualities of the Lord. Ultimately, now Queen Kunti is concluding the prayers with the prayer, heartfelt prayers. Oh my dear Lord, please don't go. Please please be with us. We have so many enemies. You have been protecting us for so long with these enemies. Kindly don't go. Kindly be with us, my dear Lord. Your jobs will be automatically done. Please don't worry. So nice and devotional prayers by Kunti Devi is there. Now, so Kunti Devi is saying in the previous verse, in the previous prayer, that there are so many enemies of ours. My dear Lord, we are completely dependent upon you. Then the Lord might think, Lord might reply to Kunti Devi, my dear Kunti Devi, my dear auntie, you have sons like Bhima, you have sons like Arjuna. Your sons are very powerful. And then the king of Dharma, Yudhishthir, and Yadavas are all your friends. And you should not worry. You should not worry about these enemical kings. You are referring in your prayer. Then, in response to this internal uh, mood of Lord Krishna, Queen Kunti Devi recites the next prayer. She says, okay, Mataji, please. Kevayam nama rupa bhayam.
Kevayam nama rupa bhayana.
Just a minute. Now we are not reciting this in the right melody. Kevayam rama rupabhyam
Kevayam nama rupabhyam.
yadubhi sah pandavaha
Yadubhihi saha pandavaha.
bhavato darshanam yarhi
Bhavato darshanam yarhi.
rishikanamiveshito.
Risikanam iveshito.
So this was Anushtup Chand, and we were trying a melody of Trishtup Chand because the previous verses was Trishtup. So we had to change the meter. Kevayam nama rupabhyam, like this. So let us see what are the individual line means. Kevayam, vayam in Sanskrit means we, us. Kevayam, who are we? We are nothing. The Lord says that your son Bhima, your Arjun, your son Arjuna, your Yadavas, your son Yudhishthir, they are very powerful. You are all protected. Then Kunti Devi saying, Kevayam. Kevayam means who are we? We are nothing. The Pandavas, along with Yadus, with their fame and strength, Nam Rupa Bhyam, Yadu Bhi Sah Pandava. So Pandava and Yadavas, although they have a lot of name, they are very famous, they are very strong, and they are very strong. But ultimately, who are we, my dear Lord? We are nobody. Then Bhavato darshanam yarhi rishikanam iveshituhu. Without your presence, we are like senses without the jiva. So here Kunti Devi is giving an example, giving an analogy. My dear Lord, without you, we are actually like senses without the jiva. Like, for example, senses means the body. Body without the soul. Without you, my dear Lord, we are body without the soul. Without your presence, we are like senses without the jiva. Vayam nama rupabhyam. So what is the use of the nama, the strength of my sons Pandavas and so on? We are nothing, my dear Lord. Without your presence, our situation, our position is simply body without the soul. That is how, with choicest of words, with such devotional feelings, Kunti Devi is explaining about Lord Krishna. Let us see. Okay.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna
Mataji.
Prabhuji, shall I
Yeah.
recite?
Yes, Mataji.
Without Lord's guidance, everything is bound to be a fiasco. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge all sorts of contracting material resources. But without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be.
Without Lord's guidance, everything is bound to be a fiasco. Now, from this verse, what do we understand? Pandavas were no ordinary people. Mother Kunti, Kunti Devi is the queen of these Pandavas, illustrious Pandavas. All were world champions, archery champion, Kushti champion, and then Dharma champion, and all kind of champions sons she had. But despite having all these extraordinary children, Kunti Devi is saying, we are Vayam. Who are we? We are nobody, my dear Lord. So what does it mean? Unless and until we feel sheltered every moment, every hour, every second in our life, sheltered underneath the Lord, shelter, having this feeling that Lord is actually being so merciful to us. Unless and until we feel like that, we are bound to get pride. We are bound to become proud. And what is the remedy of this proud? The remedy of this proud is always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. However, whatever degree you may be accomplished, whatever degree you may be successful in your life, without Lord's shelter, without Lord's guidance, everything is bound to be a fiasco. And unless and until we fear this kind of sheltered feeling in our heart, everything in our life is going to be a failure, a fiasco. That is what Prabhupada is writing here. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge all sorts of counteracting material resources, but without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. So this is a very beautiful, heartfelt prayer by Kunti Devi. The Lord is the abode of all shelters. We must feel sheltered every time unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the success of life. Okay, now I request Vidya Mataji. Mataji, last 3-4 verses for you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes. So 39th verse is again Anushtup, our mm, uh, most recognizable meter that we sing. Here, appeal for more association, again, glory of special signs on lotus Lord's feet. So she is now beautifying the Lord very poetically by referring to some signs and symbols that are present on the lotus feet of the Lord. She's saying, Neyam shobhishyate tatra
Neyam shobishta tatra
yathe danim gadadhara
yathe danam gadadhara
त्वत्पदैर अंकिता भाति
tvatpader ankata bhati
स्वलक्षण विलक्षितैः.
swalakshana vilakshita.
नेयम शोभिष्यते तत्र यथेदानिम गदाधरा. O holder of the club, Gadadhar. Gadadhar means holding a club. So what is the name of the club of the Lord? What is the name of the Gada of the Lord? Anyone remembers?
Comedy Gada.
Kaumuduki. Kaumuduki. So Kaumuduki is the name of the Gada of the Lord. So she is referring the Lord as Gadadhar, one who is one who holds a Gada, a holder of the club. This land will not glow as it does now. Neyam shobhishyate tatra yathe danim gadadhara. As it does now. If you go from here, my dear Lord, the land where we are living here, it will not glow as before. Like it is glowing now when you are present here. If you go from here, this land will stop glowing. This land will not glow like this. Neyam shobhishyate tatra yathe danim gadadhara. Oh Gadadhar, this land will not glow as it does now. त्वत्पदैर अंकिता भाति स्वलक्षणा विलक्षितै. Because why it is glowing so much so nicely? Because it is marked with special signs on your feet. Swalakshana vilakshitai. Swalakshana, your signs, vilakshitai. Vilakshitai means very special signs. Very special signs. Your signs are very special. Tvat padair ankita bhati. Padair means lotus feet. Ankita means signs, the symbols. So Prabhupada writes a little bit about the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the picture. You can see how the lotus feet of the Lord looks like. There are multiple symbols on the lotus feet of the Lord. Yes, Mataji, please read from here.
Hare Krishna. Signs on the lotus feet of the Lord. There are certain particular marks on the feet of the Lord which distinguish the Lord from others. The marks of a flag, thunderbolt, an instrument to drive an elephant, umbrella, lotus, disc, etc., are on the bottom of the Lord's feet. These marks are impressed upon the soft dust of the land where the Lord traverses.
Yes, so Kunti Devi is giving a very poetic explanation of the Lord lotus feet. My dear Lord, if you leave, then this land will become this land will not glow as before. And why it is glowing? Because your lotus feet always are impressioned upon this land. And here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Lord's lotus feet has special signs. And when the Lord puts his feet on the land, on the soft dust of the land, and then removes the feet, then what happens is the impressions of these symbols, impressions of these signs which are there on the lotus feet of the Lord are impressioned upon the land where the Lord has just put the feet. That is what Prabhupada is trying to say. So you might imagine, if the Lord was living in Hastinapur for quite some time, and he was walking on the land of Hastinapur, then the land of Hastinapur probably would, everywhere you would find these marks, these footmarks of the Lord. And these footmarks were not ordinary footmarks; they were actually studied with these symbols, these signs which are there, beautiful symbols and signs which are there on the lotus feet of the Lord. So, such beautiful prayers and description, heartfelt prayers by Kunti Devi. Okay. Then we go to the next one, where uh, because of these lotus feet, because of your presence, that was, we had lot of opulence with us, and that was only because of your mercy. That is the theme of the next verse. So she's saying, Ime janpada swaradha
Ime jana pada swarta
supakvaushadhi viruddha
supakoshadi vridha
vanadrinadi vanadrinadi udvanto, sorry,
vanadari
vanadrinadi udanvanto
vanadarin adi udvanto
ह्योधन्ते तव वीक्षितैः.
hoye danti tava vikshati.
Hmm. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects. Ime Janpada. Janpada means cities. Swaradha. They were flourishing in all respects. Uh, because the herbs and grains are in abundance. Supak, Supak Vaushadhi. Viruddha. Viruddha means growing. Supak Vaushadhi means because the herbs and grains are in abundance. And Vanadri Nadi Udanvanto. Vanadri means trees are full of fruits. Nadi means rivers are flowing. Udanvanto means that oceans are full of wealth. Rivers are flowing, hills are full of minerals, and oceans are full of wealth. And then why it is so? It is all because due to your glancing over them. So again, the same theme is continuing, that your lotus feet are impressioned upon every time you are walking on this land. That is why this land is glowing. And then it is only because of your mercy, in our kingdom we are having so much opulence. And Kunti's definition of opulence is that there are a lot of herbs, there are a lot of grains, the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, hills are full of minerals, and oceans are full of wealth. And what is the modern definition of wealth? Modern definition of wealth is we have IT boom, we have artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. But my dear devotees, Prabhupada also writes this in the purport. All these indicators of wealth are false indicators. Actually, when the Lord is pleased on a particular piece of land, then the this is how the opulence of the land has to be calculated. Is to be opulent with herbs, grains, fruits. Rivers are nicely flowing. Hills are full of minerals. Ocean is full of wealth. That is the proper definition of opulence as far as Kunti Devi is concerned. Let us read what is real human prosperity as Prabhupada describes in the purport. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general. Although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation.
Yes. So the real human prosperity is the natural resources and not these artificial symbols of prosperity like industries and so on and so forth. So that is what Prabhupada is explaining, like what Kunti Devi is explaining in her prayers. So let us see what the uh, next verse is saying, next prayer is saying. Here, Kunti Devi is saying, sever my ties of family affection. Now, Kunti Devi is thinking, if you are here, my family, which is paternal family, will suffer. paternal family is where? In Dwarka. If you go, my sons will suffer. So if you continue to live in Hastinapur, my relatives in Dwarka will not feel very good. If you go, then my sons, the Pandavas, will actually not feel very good. So these are the thoughts troubling in the mind, in my mind. So then Kunti Devi saying, sever my ties of family affection. Kunti Devi saying that these are the emotions running in my mind. Either my relatives in Dwarka will suffer or my sons in Hastinapur will suffer. So better, my dear Lord, kindly sever my ties of family affection. So she's saying, Atha Vishvesha Vishwatman
Atha Vishvesha Vishwataman
Vishwamurte Swakeshu Me
Vishwamurte Swakishme
Snehapasham Imam Chindi
Sneha Pasam Imam Chindi
Drinam Pandushu Vrishnishu.
Dhiram Pandasu Brihnishu.
So the Kunti Devi is saying, O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, Atha Vishvesha, Lord of the universe, Vishvatman, soul of the universe, and Vishwamurte, O personality of the form of the universe. Then what do? Please, therefore, sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. So here uh, she is now expressing her feelings in a different way, that if you go or you don't go, then I will feel bad either for my relatives in Dwarka or I will feel bad for my sons in Hastinapur. So better what you do, my dear Lord, you sever my ties of family affection. Now what Prabhupada has to say, please read, Mataji.
Yes. Qualification of a king, a public leader, devotee, etc. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a Brahmana, a king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as an ideal king showed this by example. Sri Ramchandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king.
So here you see there are several personalities mentioned here, and all these personalities are actually leaders in one way or the other. For example, a Brahmana is a leader. He guides the society how to move ahead. What is the instruction of the Lord? He teaches, educates the society how to move. The king is a leader of the public, a public leader like a prime minister or a president or a chief minister or a devotee of the Lord. So devotee of the Lord is also a leader. A devotee of the Lord by his acharan, by his behavior, actually educates the people how to love the Lord. So here, qualification of a king, a public leader, and devotee, etc. And what is the qualification? That these people actually should be able to cut off the family affection. And what does cutting off family affection means? Cutting off family affection means actually to consider everyone as part of your own family. Everyone in every living entity actually part of your own family. So in order to, it does not mean that we start hating our family members. No, actually it means to broaden our circle of affection, not only restrict our circle of affection only to our family member, but rather to expand our circle of affection beyond our family members to everyone, every living entity, including plants, animals, and so on. That is actually the qualification of a top a good leader. He may be a king, he may be a Brahmana, he may be a public leader, or he may be a devotee. He's giving an example of Lord Sri Ramchandra. So Lord Ramchandra, when he was challenged uh, that you are not an ideal king, then actually Lord Ramchandra did not took any time to sever ties with his good wife, with his beloved wife Mother Sita, and that is how he manifested the qualities of an ideal king. And now let us come to the last verse of the class today, which is the 42nd verse. Here, hmm, here Lord says, when Queen Kunti is speaking the previous prayer, Queen Kunti is saying that please sever the ties of my affection. So Lord Krishna is thinking in his mind, why are you cutting relationship with my devotees? Pandavas are my devotees, Yadavas are my devotees. You are asking, you are praying to cut relationship with my devotees, and ultimately cutting relationship with the devotees, actually cutting relationship with me. Do you want Brahman realization? Do you want to merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti? Are you interested in me, or are you interested in Brahma Jyoti? That is the question in the mind of the Lord. Then Queen Kunti speaks this prayer. Queen Kunti says, "My dear Lord, let my attraction flow towards you always. Let my attraction flow towards you. Tvai me ananya vishaya,
Vai me nanya vishwa,
matir madhupate sakrat,
matir madhupate sakat,
ratim udvahata daddha,
ratim udvatat ada,
ratim udvahata daddha,
ratim udvahatad ada,
gange vaugham udanvati."
gange voham uddanvati.
Yes. Oh, my dear Lord Madhu, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Ananya Vishya, without being diverted to anyone else. Let my attraction constantly drawn unto you. How? Same as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without any hindrance. Ratim udva hatad adha gange vaugham udanvati. You remember in the previous shloka memorization class, we remembered this verse,
Yes.
and it is now
Yes.
coming into the prayer where Queen Kunti is actually responding to the question that is arising in the mind of Lord Krishna. When she speaks the 41st verse, that is something which is going in the mind of Lord Krishna, and in order to respond uh, to the impressions that are arising in the mind of Lord, Queen Kunti speaks this verse. Oh, my dear Lord Madhu, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you. Always, I constantly remember you, constantly think about you, constantly serve you without being diverted to anyone else. Same like Ganga flows towards the ocean without any hindrance, always, continuously. So, this is how she is expressing her devotion. Here, Prabhupada ji is writing like this. So, Mataji,
Yes,
please read.
Prabhuji. Yes. Redirect our object of desire and emotions. The symptoms of life, such as desire, anger, hankerings, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed.
Hmm.
In Bhagavad Gita, we can see that Arjuna desired not to fight with his brothers and relations just to satisfy his own personal desires. But when he heard the message of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita, he changed his decision and served the Lord. And for his doing so, he became a famous devotee of the Lord.
Yeah. So, Prabhupada ji here writing, Prabhupada ji is writing here that we have desires like we may have desire, we may have anger, we may have hankerings, we have feelings of attraction. We cannot subdue them, we cannot finish them, we cannot make them zero. Not possible. They will always be there. The only thing we have to do is we have to redirect them towards the Lord. Only the objective has to be changed. Now, redirecting anger towards the Lord means actually redirecting our anger to those people who offend the Lord, who blaspheme the Lord. So that is what Kunti Devi is trying to say here. So first of all, she says that sever my ties of family affection. What does it mean? Sever my ties of family affection. So most of the time when we are attracted towards our family, it is mainly because of selfish reasons, because they give us joy. That is why we are attracted towards our family. But Prabhupada ji is giving here example that Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita also had some selfish attraction towards his brothers and relations, and in order to satisfy his own personal desire, he did not want to kill them. However, when he redirected his personal desires towards the Lord, then only he could do the justice, then only he could do the fight, then only he could do the right thing. But when he heard the message of the Lord, he changed his decision and served the Lord. And for his doing so, he became a famous devotee of the Lord. So, dear devotees, what Prabhupada is trying to say here is that we need to live a life where we continuously, constantly live under the shelter of the Lord, under the guidance of the Lord, under the guidance of our spiritual master, under the guidance of the devotees, the instructions of the Lord. And when we are doing so, we feel attracted towards the Lord, and we will never be bewildered, and we will always be rightful. We will always be victorious in whatever activity we do in our life. So, with that, Queen Kunti's prayers are actually coming to the end. Only one last prayer, 43rd verse, and then we move forward to the next topic of this particular chapter, chapter 8. So, it took a little while, but I think the prayers were so beautiful that I could not stop earlier. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any takeaways, comments, and question, most welcome now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Uh,
Any questions?
Yes, I have
Mhm.
heard that Punya Shloka in earlier chapters, the word came for Krishna, but here
Uttama
Punya
Shloka. Uttama
Okay,
Shloka. Yeah.
okay, I got confused. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, Mataji. Yes. And any other question? Any other comments? How do you like the prayers of Kunti Devi? Did you could you enter inside the mood of Mother Kunti through her prayers? What she is feeling in her mind when she sees the Lord and so on? Can you experience that through her prayers? Although my capacity is limited, but uh, whatever it is.
I really feel that she is the most surrendered devotee of Krishna,
Yeah, yeah,
and we
yeah.
need to learn the right mood to
Hmm.
approach the Lord.
Yeah.
And
Although she claims herself to be a very simple,
yes,
ignorant woman, but through her
yes,
prayers, you can see how deep she understands about the
yes,
Lord. Not only understands
yes.
about the Lord, but how much devotion she has for the Lord, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Even she's saying that her ties of the family be broken up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think she completely realized, in a sense, that this what material attachments are all
Hmm.
temporary, all
Yes.
transient,
Yes,
and
Mataji.
here it is difficult for us yet to reach
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So we may not imitate the emotions and devotions of exalted devotees like Queen Kunti, but when we reflect upon these prayers, their
Mm,
character, their mood actually rubs on a little bit on our own character and our own mood, and maybe a little bit of devotion, little bit of sincerity actually comes up in our own life when we read the prayers of such very wonderful exalted devotees. Yeah.
yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Yes.
really wonderful, and I'll definitely congratulate you for putting in efforts which are beyond. Today, I don't have words. I'm really very happy, very much impressed, and feel more attached than ever before. Thank
Oh
you very
my,
much.
oh my
Hare
God.
Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you
Hare
very much. Very. These words are like trophies for me. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. All because of Mother Kunti's devotion. Probably I could do some little bit of explanation, but thank you very much for your blessings and your comment, your feedback. Thanks very much. Yeah. Okay.
The
Okay.
explanation was
Thank
very
you,
good.
Prabhu.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Mataji. Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It is very
Thank
good.
you.
Friends.
Okay, Anuradha Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Yes, Mohan Mataji. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna
Then
Prabhu.
Thank you.
yes, Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Huh.
Prabhu, wonderful class. Prabhu, how do you distinguish this Anushtup or Trishtup meters while singing the shlokas?
Vinayak Prabhu, that for that you need to come to our shloka memorization class, which starts from 5:15. So Anushtup actually is 8 syllable in one section, and then
Okay.
Trishtup actually means 12 or 11 syllables in one section.
Okay.
I will explain you uh,
The next class.
separately because we have discussed this topic in the class earlier also. We'll
Okay.
we'll we'll explain you separately. Okay.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Vinayak Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Amiji. Hare Krishna, Amiji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Rakesh ji, Hare Krishna. Thank you, ji.